Hey, this is Tyler with My Retro Life, and you're listening to the SEGA Lounge.
Welcome to the SEGA Lounge, a podcast dedicated to our love for all things SEGA, be it the games, the music, or the community. I'm KC. In each episode, I'll be talking to different guests and sharing their projects and their passion for SEGA. Hello everyone and welcome back to the SEGA Lounge. Hope you had a good week, and I sincerely hope you enjoyed last week's episode. If you haven't listened to it yet, I urge you to go back and do that. It was a lot of fun to record, not so much to edit, but it's always a lot of fun to have my community friends around the lounge to talk about our favorite SEGA memories. Whether you're a fan of Alex Kidd or not, I'm sure you'll enjoy the content we put out for you last week. It's a great way to get excited about the 35th anniversary of this Legacy SEGA series, and for next month's release of Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX. Okay, Casey, stop gushing about last week's episode and talk about this week's guest. Fine. Let's do that. This week, we have the return of one of our Season 1 guests. Back in July 2014, on Episode 7, me and my co-host at the time, Donnie, sat down with Tyler Esposito, who, at the time, had a YouTube channel called The SEGA Channel. We recorded the show at 4 a.m. my time, and we were in the early days of our Radio SEGA show, which makes it very cringy for me to listen back to. But you can do it if you want. Go to thesegalounge.com/7, and you'll find the episode ready to stream or download. Pro tip? You can do that with any episode number. The SEGALounge.com/episode number will take you to the page of said episode. Handy, huh? Anyway, 7 years later, I thought it was about time I caught up with Tyler, especially since a lot has happened on his life since we last spoke. He became a father, he rebranded his YouTube channel, took a break from it, rebranded it again and came back, and he is just a massive SEGA fan with a lot of memories. For those not familiar with Tyler, he is a director and actor and the creative mind behind the My Retro Life video series, which focuses on his experience as a gamer and video game collector from a young age. He comes from a family of creative people, and in fact, all the footage he has of his younger years was recorded by his dad. Tyler is a massive SEGA fan, and footage of him and his family playing games has been featured on the Console Wars documentary. So here's my chat with Tyler Esposito of the My Retro Life channel. I hope you enjoy. Hello Tyler, welcome back to the SEGA Lounge.
Hey, how are you doing, David?
I'm awesome. Thank you very much for joining me again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. It's crazy. It's been like since 2014?
Yeah. So I just checked July 17th, 2014, episode number 7 of this show.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
It's been a while. At the time, you were, and so we're gonna, since we probably have people listening to us right now that were not listeners of the SEGA Lounge back then, so we'll probably start with a few things that we already mentioned last time, but just for people to know you a little bit better, your history with games and your history with SEGA itself. At the time, you were here talking about your SEGA channel, which is now something completely different.
Yeah,
not completely, but a little bit.
That was the name of my YouTube channel, and yeah, I was just, that's funny you said that, because that really means it was a long time ago, because that was the first channel name that the channel went through. It became iRetro Gamer, and that lasted for quite a while, and then we took a hiatus from YouTube I took some time to really kind of go through some personal stuff I was dealing with, and some things I needed to take care of in my own life, and came back in 2020, I guess it was, to having we relaunched the channel in 2020 as My Retro Life, which is the name of the series that I produce on the channel.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of the Sega Lounge in a way, because I also took some time off and came back last year. And
oh, that's awesome!
Yeah, and you were on the list of guests to have on the show last season, but for some reason it never happened. So I'm really, really glad that you're back this season to talk a little bit more about your projects and your Sega love, your love for Sega.
Any chance I can get to talk about Sega, man. I'll always jump at that. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. So let's start from the beginning. So briefly, last time you were here, you talked about how your first game was Space Harrier, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was my first
the arcade version.
First video game, as far as I was ever told that I ever played, was Space Harrier, and it was in the arcade. And I can't remember what we talked about last time, but specifically the story even goes that I was a little kid, like a toddler, and I was at the movie theater to see the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Mm-hmm. And that's what my parents would tell me, that, yeah, that's where you played your first video game, was Space Harrier. And the arcade version. And then I played the Master System version of that. A neighbor, about a year later after that initial encounter, a neighbor friend, little boy, had a Master System and he had a Nintendo. So I got to see what both of them were like. It was crazy. I know that was rare back then. And of course, my family ended up going gaming crazy, but it was rare to see a Nintendo and a Sega back in those days. A kid owned both a Master System and a Nintendo. So
yeah,
he had Space Harrier on the Master System, and I used to play it at his house. And then years later, I collected the Master System. Around 1994, I started collecting for that system. And when I got Space Harrier, and you can see it in the My Retro Life video for the Sega Master System collecting with Dad in the 90s video. The Dad got footage of me basically telling the story. It's funny. It's a story within a story of me. I'm on camera saying, "Wow, I remember this music. I remember Space Harrier." And I say in the video, it was my first experience with nostalgia.
Yeah.
And so that game always has been very special to me, because I know that I can trace my original, like, kind of spark for loving all things nostalgic kind of goes back all the way to that game.
That's amazing. Yeah. I don't think I mentioned this last time you were here, but I was listening back to part of the episode, and you mentioned Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which I think it was either my first or my second movie that I ever, went to the movies to watch. It was either that was the first one or The Land Before Time. Those are the two that I remember I associate with
me too,
going
man.
to the movies.
Are you 35 by any chance?
I'm turning 37 this year.
Okay, so you're
close, close.
I just turned 35.
Okay.
So we're very close. We're close in age, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because you said Land Before Time. That was another one of my first films.
I don't know which one it was. It's actually probably easy to know just by looking at the dates when they came out. But I actually never thought of looking for that. But those are in my mind the first two films that I ever watched at a movie theater, and they have a really special place in my heart. So yeah.
Hey, ditto, man.
Excellent.
Same with me.
Yeah. So you mentioned last time you were here, you mentioned your love for the Master System, but you also mentioned that at some point you had an NES.
Yes.
Because there
Yeah.
was
So
something
yeah,
happened. Would you like
yeah.
to tell that
My
story again?
sure, sure. My dad. So he was noticing that I was getting into video games, and our neighbor friend, the same neighbor friend I mentioned before, he had a Master System and a Nintendo, but he had the Master System version of Ghostbusters. And that was the first game that I could really kind of control on my own and really get into. I would play the driving segments
Hmm.
in that game. And they had the Master System version. So dad and mom discussed it. They wanted to get me a video game console for Christmas of 1989. So dad went out to Toys R Us, because that was the place, and picked up a Sega Master System. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if he was kind of catching wind or hearing somewhere that there was something. It looked to him like the Master System was on its way out. Like he could tell here in America in 1989, it was very obvious that Nintendo was much bigger,
Yeah.
and the Master System looked like it was kind of dying. So um, he actually called up Sega of America. He had this kind of, the foresight to call up Sega of America, and he asked them. This is back before the internet, so you had to actually call companies like this. You couldn't just email and stuff. So he called their 1-800 number or whatever number it was, and spoke to a representative on the phone. And he asked, "So, are you? What's going on with this Master System? Are you going to support it?" And they told him over the phone, "Sorry, sir, it's true what you're seeing. We are phasing out the Master System. We have a brand new system called the Sega Genesis, and the Master System we're going to phase it out." And he saw, and he knew, I think he looked up the Genesis, or looked up, I say, but maybe saw it in the store. He went back to the store, and the Sega Genesis just looked too adult. It looked too scary with the Altered
Yeah.
Beast logo and the Altered Beast
Too
game.
aggressive.
Too aggressive, right? So he made a decision to go with the Nintendo at that point, because that was the clear choice and the clear winner. And there was a Ghostbusters game. The same game was on the NES. Although I will say we found out later, or really right then after we got it, that the Master System version was a lot better. Yeah, that's how I got my Nintendo. And it's so funny because, my heart was always for Sega, years later when we got the Genesis. Eventually, a few years later when I was old enough, Dad felt I was old enough to kind of handle it. I wouldn't be so scared with it. We became Sega, just huge Sega fans.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy that it all started with the Nintendo for me, but it was very close to I was very close to starting off as a Sega kid.
Yeah, I find it funny because you obviously had a great love and great passion for the Master System. And you also mentioned, and we're probably going to talk about that, the Sega Master System.com domain that you once owned. But it didn't start there. It started with the NES, so it's funny to me.
Yeah, it's funny to me too.
Yeah, awesome. One of the things that whenever I bring up your channel to people, to friends and stuff, because I love your channel, and I love not just my retro life, how it is right now, but the other iterations as well. You have so your journey as a gamer has been well documented by your father, right?
Yeah.
Which is something that we don't see every day. It's interesting. Is that because of your family's background as creative people? Is that why you feel that happened?
I would say that's exactly right. Dad was an independent filmmaker in the 80s. He actually went out to California for a while. So I come from an entertainment family. My grandfather was an inker for Marvel and DC in the Silver Age of comics.
Mm-hmm.
He drew Spider-Man and Wonder Woman was another big comic that he was a part of. And we so we just had that background in our family, and Dad loved entertainment. He loved cinema. My grandfather wanted to be an animator for Disney, so there was a huge before he became a comic book artist. So there was a huge love for Disney in the family, and then film as a result. And Dad took a shine to filmmaking in the 80s and really pursued that as a career. And he made some independent films. He sold all of his comics collection in the 70s, which included number ones and number twos of stuff like Spider, because Grandpa worked for Marvel, so he had easy access to a lot of these early issues and stuff. And it was nuts. He used to always lament the fact that he sold the stuff in the 70s to move out to California, when if he had held on to it, I mean, you're talking about you'd be a rich person. If you held on to that stuff. So
you never think it's going to be that big of a deal, right?
No, you don't. And you got to think that in the 70s, think about that time in that place. Comic books were still not really viewed as this like art. Or this it was kind of still looked at as like kid stuff. And it wasn't until the 80s and really the 90s and beyond that it started to get this other kind of, and especially now it's looked at with such high regard.
Even the nostalgia of it as well, right? So we've seen people. It's a pop culture thing now that things that are now regarded as important or anchors of other times and of entertainment are now things that people want to hold on to collect, to even to sell. So it wasn't like that back then.
Yeah, it really wasn't. And I think it's interesting. You're starting to see that with video games now. Video games are really in the public eye right now. The pop culture for it is huge. The collecting scene is so huge now, especially due to COVID and stuff like that. Has really, I think, sparked people's nostalgia. It goes in waves. It's weird. This nostalgia is super powerful. And then when you get to a certain age, you see all of a sudden a resurgence for that love of whatever that thing was. So comic books in the 90s, became huge because people got all nostalgic for it. And what was once a kid's thing, those kids are now adults and they want to collect it and they love it. They love it. The parents didn't necessarily get it or love it, but now they're adults and they love it.
For sure. Yeah. And so that's how it all started for you as well. So you were part of an entertainment family. Your father liked to record those special family moments involving video games as well, right?
Your question was, is that why? And so Dad was an independent filmmaker, and when he started, he and my mom had a baby, they were like, okay, well, we need to settle down a bit, raise a family. So he kind of left the film industry, kind of stopped pursuing that, started, got a day job and really started building a career in marketing and advertising. And so, he took that love of film though. He took that love of filmmaking and injected it into our home movies. And he loved to film everything because it kind of became his little outlet for doing the film thing still, even though he had, largely abandoned it, as a career choice. So it became, the home movies were his movies, his little short films, his little independent films. And that's what's so cool about the My Retro Life series, and what I've always taken from it, what I get out of it the most, is being able to take what he shot out of love for his family, but also love for filmmaking and love for for that, and I'm able to edit those. I'm almost like taking them and like turning them into the stories that he almost maybe he saw in his head, or I'm telling the stories, and it almost feels like we're working together in a way. It's a really special thing, especially and a lot of people know, but for those listening that maybe don't know, Dad passed away back in 2007, so.
Mm-hmm.
The whole series is in tribute to him, but not just in tribute to him, it's in tribute to a childhood filled with video games and love for video games. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's super special all around for me.
Definitely. And I think it shows to the viewers who watch every video that you put out. I think it shows the love for video games and the love for your father's vision as well, recording those videos, and that was amazing. I think I was actually talking to a friend the other day. I told him that I would be talking to you, and we were like, our parents probably had video cameras as well. I know mine did, but they recorded other things, not exactly when I got a video game or new video game, or when I was playing a certain game, because those weren't important moments for them, because they weren't into video games. They didn't see video games probably the way that your father did, which is awesome, right? And I think it shows the love that he had for video games, and for you guys, shows in those videos as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it really does.
Excellent. So we've covered a few things that we mentioned before, but I wanted to go back to that Sega MasterSystem.com story as well, because you at some point owned that domain, right?
Yes.
Sega
Master System. I still do, actually.
Oh, you still do?
I still do have it. Yeah, I got the domain. I don't do anything with it other than forward it to a fan site called Sega8bit.com, which you might be familiar with. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've kind of always been somewhat affiliated with that website, because when they came out, I was still doing SegaMasterSystem.com, and SegaMasterSystem.com has been through a lot of different incarnations too. As far as I had lost it, and then my wife, when we got married, she bought it back for me as a wedding gift. She bought it at a premium price, the domain. And that, honestly, and I don't know if we talked about this last time, but that was really the thing that jump-started and kicked me in the butt to do YouTube, because I saw the potential. It was like 2000. At this point, we were in 2012 when she bought the domain name back for me, and YouTube was, had become what it is now, pretty much. And I thought, okay, I always had this Master System fan site, and I'd love to keep doing it and do it again. So let me do it in a YouTube style. Let me have a web page that kind of has these videos that I want to produce and create for it. So, I don't know if that's where you were going with your question.
Yeah.
But
before that, though, your father was the one who bought the domain, right?
Yeah. He got it for me. It was around the time Phantasy Star Online came out. I remember that. So it was back in like 2001, and I had, out of just my own love for Master System collecting, and the system itself, I had started a GeoCities website, one of these old GeoCities, free websites that you can do. And I was learning HTML. I was only 14 years old and trying to learn HTML and just how to design my own website and stuff. And I did that, I did. So I made a fan site. I made a fan site called Sega Master System Sector is what I called it. And, I had this website that was what it was called. And Dad saw the potential in it. He was really proud of it. He thought it was super cool that I had learned all this stuff on my own, because it was something that, of course, his generation and everything, he had no idea how to do anything with the web. But I had taken it upon myself at that age in the year 2000 to learn and design a website. So that was really impressive to him. So I came down the stairs one day. I remember I was working on that fan site, and it was my first time I was connecting and kind of networking with other people online over our love of Sega and stuff like that. There were some other websites I was talking to. There are Master System websites, like the Sega Master System Information Station was one of them. And then there was another one called, of course, I think it still is online, smspower.org.
Yeah.
And man, Omar over on that, he was the webmaster on that site. It's amazing to follow his path.
Exactly.
Because you know about Omar, right?
Yeah, we've had Omar on the show actually.
Yeah. It's amazing how he, eventually with his incredible artistic skills went on to work on and be a part of Lizard Cube, who did Streets of Rage 4 and the Wonder Boy remake, and it's just amazing to watch his stuff. So and to know that I've known that guy, we've talked forever, since I was like 14 years old. It's so crazy. So Omar, if you're listening, hey man, great job, congratulations. Yeah, that was a fun time. I was super into it. And that was my first, really, honestly, you want to talk about me as a content creator. That was really when I first, dipped my foot into the pool and started doing content creation. It didn't look like it does now. It was, web design and websites and stuff, but that was my first retro gaming thing. And so anyway, back to the story. Dad, I came down the stairs one day because our computer was upstairs, and I said to him, "Hey, Dad, you'll never believe this." Somehow I just had this, intuition to look for SegaMasterSystem.com on GoDaddy or whatever it was back then. Look for the domain name. And it was available. I said, "It's available." He turned to me out of his seat. He was sitting down watching TV, and he looks, he stops the television, he lowers the volume or something, and he goes, "What? Like SegaMasterSystem.com, the actual name of the console, is available?" And I said, "Yeah, it says it's available, that we could buy it right now for the regular price, not a premium price or anything like that." So he plunked down the money right there. He said, "Okay, here you go. Here's my credit card." He handed me his credit card, and I went upstairs and bought it. And that's how we got it. It really
became
wild.
The owner of the Sega Master System.
I know. It felt like it. I know, right? Yeah, it was so funny. Well, it was so crazy, David. That really was my first taste of connecting with a broader audience too, and a broader, because what happened directly after that, having that domain, I started getting, messages on that little fan site in the guest book and on the message board that was there, from people all around the world that had this shared love of the Sega Master System.
Yeah.
And so it was fascinating to me. I remember going to my dad and saying, "There's people writing in from Germany and Brazil and all these places. Like, you'll never believe this." And it was really cool, cause, we only had the internet maybe at that point for like 4 years, maybe 3 years. And, to connect with people worldwide over some sort of shared hobby, it was really new stuff and really, really cool. And I think, that was the early days of me really, really liking to create content and, exploring this hobby and this community, understanding that there was this big community out there for the stuff that I loved.
Yeah. And what was SegaMasterSystem.com about? What obviously about the Master System, but what kind of content did you put out at the time?
So at the time I put out I would try every week, I'd go to school and then I'd come home from school and, I would write articles that were mainly like reviews. I did a lot of reviews, and I did a lot of, I would post news updates on Sega in general. I remember when Sega called it quits in 2001. I did a big article. Well, I called it, at that age, it was a big article to me. I wrote a big write up about basically a little goodbye letter. Like, my heart was broken that Sega was calling it quits in the console business. And so I wrote stuff like that, mainly a lot of reviews. One feature I will say that was really popular that I did on the regular was it was called the Sega Master System Battle Arena, I called it. And I kind of stole the idea from a website called Nintendo Land or something like that, NES Land from back in the day. They're not around anymore. But they had a thing where they did a versus where they would write this fan fiction, basically, where Nintendo characters would fight each other in a tournament. And it was like this tournament style fighting fan fiction involving Nintendo characters. Well, I wanted to do the same thing, but on my website for Sega characters. And that became really popular. People were really, they'd vote every week on who they wanted to be in the next match. And I would write these stories. And I even got the help of some other people to help me write the stories. So that became one of the more popular features on the site, was this kind of fan fiction. And
I actually I was looking through the website using Wayback Machine, and there's I think it's called SMS Deathmatch.
Oh, that's what I called it, Deathmatch. Okay, yeah.
So I found one between Shinobi and Alex Kidd. So
oh man!
Shinobi is in the mood to spar with his good friend Alex, whom he taught everything he knows. Alex knows just about every move Shinobi can perform. Notice I say just about. And then, did you ever play Alex Kidd in Shinobi World? Well, if you have, you know just what to look for in this match. Alex is a little nervous about fighting his role model, though. That's awesome. That's awesome.
That was a fun one. Did I write that one, or did Andrew? I think Andrew was the
I don't know.
Collaborator I had.
I can't see. It doesn't show the author, though.
Okay.
Maybe this is just a very simple snapshot of the website, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember where we put the name of the author. It might have been in an image that might be not loading or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I think I wrote that one. Mm-hmm. I could definitely tell if I wrote it by the ending. If you read the ending paragraph.
The ending paragraph.
Yeah.
So both of them have their separate paragraphs.
Okay.
So and then who do you think will win? Vote now.
Oh yeah.
Maybe this is not.
I guess. Oh, maybe that's not the actual article. Like maybe that was a preview.
Maybe.
Because if it said who do you think will win, yeah, that's the preview of maybe
the poll is Sonic versus Alex Kidd for some reason, even though it's Shinobi on the page.
Yeah, that's all mixed up.
It's mixed up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. You're really bringing me back with just talking about that stuff, because that was my world for a while. I'd come home from school. I was in high school, early high school, and I would come home and write Sega fan fiction. So funny.
Was it a shared love with maybe some of your schoolmates or other friends that you had? Or just online?
They're mostly online. Like, as far as the Master System goes, there's nobody else other than me, Dad, and the internet community that I met. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It really, there were other friends at school that had Sega. I know there was a buddy of mine I used to talk to all the time about Dreamcast games back in those days. And he had a Dreamcast, but yeah, at that point, really collecting was not a big thing. Mm-hmm. Or it was becoming bigger. And I guess I might have helped with some of that, having that website. But, yeah, it was just, kind of taking that childhood collecting with dad that I did in the 90s. And then as a teenager, I loved collecting SEGA, Nintendo, but very much so SEGA. And so I wanted to just keep on pushing that love of that stuff and finding other people that had the same passion for it. And it's pretty wild. I think that's why I also spent so much time on that website and making it, was because there were nobody else in my life other than on the internet, people that I met on the internet. there was nobody else into it. So I became, quite involved with, the internet fan fiction and the collecting scene, as it were, back then.
Yeah. Cause retro, whatever retro is these days, right? Because it's weird talking about PS2 games, for example, is retro, right?
I know.
For some people, it's retro already because we're old. But at the time, there wasn't much of that love for old games, for older games. And 2002, for example, we had the Dreamcast, we had the PS2, we had other systems. So not many people were probably thinking about the Master System 24/7. Yeah, so it's funny.
They weren't. Yeah, it was funny. And, the Master System, I don't know about how the nostalgic view of it is overseas. Where are you based out of, David?
I'm in Portugal, and it was big here. Yeah, Portugal.
Okay. Because here in America, it really wasn't. It was always that 10% of the market as opposed to 90%. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of nostalgia for it here in the States. And so I wonder, is nostalgia for Master System bigger in other countries, maybe like Portugal? Do you see it more? Do you hear about it more where you are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's funny because Nintendo never really had a strong presence or marketing boost behind them in Portugal. So in the 90s, it was always Sega. Portugal was like 99% Sega.
That's cool.
But it's funny because I am part of a different podcast in Portuguese, actually, talking about Sega in Portugal. And we were talking the other day about how Sega, and not just in Portugal, because it happened in places like Brazil as well. Sega marketed both the Mega Drive, as we know the Genesis here, and the Master System together. They were out at the same time almost. They were still putting out games for the Master System during the golden years of the Mega Drive as well. So
that's so cool.
There's more nostalgia. There's a big love for the Mega Drive, for the Genesis over here, but there are some people as well who actually grew up with a Master System instead of a Mega Drive, or started with the Master System. So it's big.
So I always find that fascinating, and I always wish that it was more like that in the States, because I'm such a Sega nerd. I always wish that, man, I wish Sega had always been the top dog, and Nintendo, I love Nintendo, don't get me wrong. I mean, Nintendo is where I cut my teeth on Nintendo stuff, but Sega was where my heart was. And, it's funny, I was big into a lot of bands from overseas that weren't just American rock bands. I was into rock music, and so I'd listen to a lot of, back in those days in the early 2000s, I was into the UK scene of bands like Franz Ferdinand and the Killers were American. Who am I thinking of? The Kaiser Chiefs.
Kaiser Chiefs.
Kaiser Chiefs and the Fratellis. I think the Fratellis were from the UK.
I'm not sure.
And but there was another band. They were an Australian band. Do you remember the Vines?
I remember the name. Not sure if I am familiar with the music.
Okay. Well, they had a song on one of their albums that came out, and they had a brief they were briefly popular in America. They had a song called Get Free that was popular on MTV. But they were much bigger in their home country of Australia. And the Master System was big over in Australia, like really big. And I heard about this, and I remember buying one of their albums one day, and I was shocked when, this was probably in 2008 or 9. And I bought one of their albums, and there was a song on it called Miracle Land. And it was called Miracle Land or something like that. Not even Miracle World. I think it was called Miracle Land. And the whole song is about Alex Kidd Miracle Land. And in Miracle, he's like, Alex the Kid in Miracle Land or something like that. And I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, so here he is, the songwriter from the Vines, and he's writing about this nostalgic, inspired by his nostalgia for Alex Kidd on the Master System, and where the Master System was big in Australia. And it's just so funny because you would never, ever get a pop song or a rock song like that here in the States. If that song came out here, nobody would know what he was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But there are a few references to Nintendo, to Super Mario, perhaps, maybe Donkey Kong. I think it's, Nintendo is bigger over there, so it is.
Yeah. Kind of on that same token, there was a pop song here in America that was big by another rock band from that time called, a band was called American Hi-Fi. Mm-hmm. And they had a song called Flavor of the Week that references Nintendo, in it. He's like, he's too stoned, Nintendo. I wish that I could make her see. Anyway, it's one of these like pop punk bands.
Yeah.
It's just funny how you get those video game references in those songs that we grew up with and stuff.
And it's always nice to know that we're not alone in our fandom, in our love for something. There's always someone out there that shares the love for a certain thing, a certain game, a certain
It
company.
is, and that's, one of the things that is so awesome about, some people, they get upset over technology and social media, and it's like, oh man, it's too much. It's too much. Like it gets a little crazy, put away your Facebook, put your phone down. You're addicted to your phone. And yes, there are all those issues and problems that, maybe arise from something like that in social media. But one thing that I will say is just amazing is that, people might complain about that, but if we didn't have social media or this way to connect, the internet is just so amazing because I can't imagine not connecting with people from around the world and talking. And it's just, it's opened my mind to life around the world. It's amazing. And that's really something that a lot of Americans have a lot of trouble with is kind of getting in this bubble of like, it's all America. It's all like America this, America that. And I always try to encourage people to go overseas, check out the world, because there's so much more to it than just, America.
Yeah. Yeah. And same for every other country, right? So it's always nice to broaden your horizons and learn about different cultures and different people. Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure. Okay. Last time you were on the show, I was listening back to the episode, and there was something you said that I want to quote here. You said, "I'm all about retro for some reason. It's just what appeals to me." You said for some reason. Have you found the reason yet?
I think I have always been and it's just the way I'm wired, I think. But I've always been fascinated with the past. I've always been a nostalgic kid, and nostalgic, even when I was growing up, I would talk to teachers, and I would talk to older people and ask them questions and stories about their lives and their past and what life was like in those days. I've always been fascinated by a time and a place that I didn't live in. And so I think it translates to the times that the time and places that I did live in too, but are no longer accessible. So I am still fascinated by even my own past, because you can no longer get there. You can no longer live it anymore, but you can kind of remember it and feel and get a feeling for what it was like through media, through stories and memories and stuff. Because that's what I would do. I would talk to people like my grandparents or some older people, and they would tell me stories about what life was like during the Great Depression here in America. I guess that was probably worldwide too.
Yeah.
And so I would hear these stories about the Great Depression and World War II and World War I, and I'd put myself, as I heard the story, I'd put myself there, and I'd try to imagine what life was like, the simplicities too of life. Like my grandfather would tell me stories of like just walking down the street, like, and sneaking into an old movie theater to watch an old movie from the 30s, black and white. And just to hear these stories, it just always really, I just found it fascinating. It was a way to transport myself back to those days, even days I didn't live in. But yeah. I've always been fascinated by that. I've always been fascinated with traveling back in time. Idea, and that's what nostalgia can kind of do for you.
Yeah, I think I am that way too. And when it comes to, there's always that question: what would you do if you could time travel to any place in history? In history, or would you choose the past or the future? I would probably choose the past as well. I think it's much more interesting to live in a time where you couldn't live, to actually see the things that you hear other people talking about, or you study at school and stuff like that. I think that's much more interesting to me as well.
Yeah, I would always tell people that my favorite subject in school was history, and it was because of that, because of that. Wow, like, man, life was so different, and I wonder what it would be like, and yep, that's just always been part of who I am.
Yeah. Have you been playing more modern games lately, or are you
have been. My daughter. I have a daughter now since the last time we spoke, and she was born in 2015, so a year after we first talked. And so she's 6 now, and she loves Nintendo games, Nintendo Switch, Nintendo 3DS, even Wii U. And so we play a lot of those together. She's big on Pokemon right now. And yeah, it's so awesome. I mean, it was so crazy to me. She came home from a book fair at her school. They were doing a book fair, as we call it, and where you go into this kind of library section and buy a bunch of books that are on sale, and for kids. And she picked the Pokemon index from like Sword and Shield. There's a Pokemon guidebook there detailing all the different Pokemon, and it definitely made me proud. Because I was like, that's my girl. She got Pokemon, something Nintendo. And awesome. So yeah, I am playing a lot of modern games with her, through her. I'm going back and playing a lot of retro games too, because I'm creating new content for the channel. But I'm also playing. I got a PlayStation 5 actually. Got my hands on one, and I got Miles Morales. Loved that. It was incredible. The Spider-Man game was so good. I want to do a video on that actually, talking about my favorite Spider-Man game when I was a kid versus the newest one. And I think that'll be a fun video, which was Spider-Man versus the Kingpin on Sega CD.
Oh, nice. I actually played the Mega Drive version of that.
Man, that was good too. The Sega CD one, man, for me it took it to a whole nother. Yes, the soundtrack was so good.
Yeah, Spencer Nielsen.
God. Save this city, save it from the hands of destruction.
Exactly.
So good.
Yeah, awesome.
Sorry, you just lost like all your viewers with me singing.
No, I was just blown away by how good of a singer you are.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, because we have something coming up in a little bit, and I'm thinking maybe I should have done something different for that. Okay, so that's actually a good segue into taking a quick break, Tyler. And when we come back, there's something that we need to do together. And I'll explain in a little bit.
Awesome.
This week's episode of the Sega Lounge is actually sponsored by a real product. Or should I say products? Did you know you can get real physical The Sega Lounge merch? And did you know it not only looks great, but it's also a way of being an awesome person and help support the show? That's right. Head on over to thesegalounge.com/store and you can find our current lineup of merch like t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs. Go to thesegalounge.com/store and you too can get the official Sega Lounge seal of approval. Welcome back, Tyler. Welcome back to the Sega Lounge.
Hey, how are you, David?
I'm great. I'm excited for what comes now.
Oh, I am too.
So 7 years ago, almost 7 years ago, you came on the show. And it's been a tradition ever since. We have the Sega Lounge Challenge.
Now that you know our guests, it's time to put them to the test. It's the moment we've waited for, and the moment they dread.
Welcome to your doom.
I mean, welcome to the Sega Lounge Challenge.
Oh.
The Sega Lounge Challenge can be anything I want, and I'm starting to regret not doing like a singing challenge or something. I think it would be awesome. It would be awesome, yes.
Oh, man.
I didn't know about that hidden talent of yours, so we're going to do something different. We are going to do what I've been doing with most of my guests lately, which is the ultimate Sega Fan Challenge.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. So what is it? It's a group of 10 sub-challenges, little challenges here, including songs that you need to guess what game they're from.
This is fun.
And questions as well. Questions. So you can get up to 20 points in this challenge.
Okay.
But your goal is to at least get 10.
Okay.
Okay. So you can see by that it's not really that easy.
Yeah. I'm a little scared. I'm going to be honest. I'm such a Sega fan. And if I fail at this test, that is going to look really bad.
You lose all your credibility as a
all
Sega
my
fan.
cred. All my cred. All the years of
Your
documented
street
footage of me being a Sega fan mean nothing.
Exactly. So, this is how it's going to work. So, number one is a question. And every time we have a question, or almost every time we have a question, you can pick between an easy question or a hard question. Easy questions get you 1 point. Hard questions get you 2 points.
Okay.
So, what would you like to start with?
Let's start with a hard one.
Everyone does. And they regret it instantly. Okay. Okay. So I have my list of hard questions here. Okay. Are you a fan of Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap?
I am. I'm not
Yeah.
the biggest fan. Like, I've never beaten the game, but
That would be Omar.
Yes, Omar is.
Yeah.
But I do really enjoy the game. I always get stuck at a certain point in the game, but I enjoy returning to it and playing it, and it's just a beautifully designed game, and I do really like that game.
I do as well. So, your question, Tyler, is in Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap, apart from human, right? Human, I don't know. It's Hugh dash man. There are 5 other transformations. 2 of them are Mouse Man and Lion Man. What are the other 3?
Lizard Man and wow.
So human, Mouse Man, Lion Man, Lizard Man.
I always called him Lizard Man. It might not be the actual maybe it's Dragon Man or something, but yeah, it's a lizard transformation. Oh gosh, those are the ones you named are the ones I really know. I don't think I know the other 2 or the other 3. I guess I gave one of them.
You gave Lizard Man.
Okay.
You need 2 more. And I'm going to help you by saying that Lizard Man is indeed the correct name.
Okay, cool. I don't know if I ever got far enough into the game to know the other ones.
What do you think you would need to complete the game? What kind of animals or transformations?
Was one of them like an eagle, like a bird?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just here to ask questions and not to answer them.
Yeah, of course. Oh man. I'm stumped. Without looking it up.
So, Lizard Man.
I got that one.
Would it be Eagle Man or something, or Bird Man?
Birdman, Harvey Birdman. I'll say like Birdman.
And the last one?
The last one, I'm trying to remember also like the box art too, but I don't think they gave away the character on the box art.
No, I don't think so.
This one, yeah. Let's try like. Some reason I'm thinking of Psycho Fox, but let's say like the leopard, like a cheetah man or something. I know they already have a lion there, so maybe not. But that's what I'm going to go with, cheetah.
So Lizard Man, bird, eagle, which one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bird man.
Bird/eagle man.
Yeah.
And leopard, cheetah man. Yeah.
Cheetah man, like the NES game.
Okay. Final answer, right, Tyler?
Yes.
I can lock it in.
I lament the fact that that's my final answer.
Okay, so as you already know, Lizard Man is correct. Well done. But you need all 3 to get 2 points. Were the other 2 an eagle or bird man and a cheetah man? There was a hawk man.
Okay.
Hawk man. I'll take bird man. Yes, a hawk, an eagle, a hawk. Yeah.
There you go.
Hawk man. Well done.
Thank you.
So, what about that cheetah?
That's where I'm going to fail.
It's not in the game, no, unfortunately. But the correct answer is a piranha man.
I see that I did not know, and I had I'm not even like, oh yeah, that was no. I did not know that one.
So it was like you could have underwater powers.
Okay, cool.
So unfortunately, Tyler, no points in this round. But I think things are starting to get better now because it's time for our first musical challenge.
Okay.
So this is just 10 seconds of a song from a game. Okay. And I will
good.
need for the 2 points, I will need the game and where it plays, or what the track title is, or what stage, something about the track itself. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Ready for the first one?
Yes.
No, you're not. Let's take a listen.
Oh, yes.
The man is saying, "Oh yes."
That is the Sega Ghostbusters game on the Sega Genesis, and it's the very first stage, the apartment or house. I don't know if it was an apartment. I think it was just a house that you go to, and yeah, just like a family home.
You seem quite sure of yourself.
I really am. I love that game.
So this is for sure the correct answer.
Ghostbusters on Sega Genesis, and it's the first stage. I don't know if they called it an apartment or just a single family home or whatever that you were going to, but it was like a house.
Mm-hmm. So, Tyler, for glory, let's go with the game first. You are absolutely correct. 1 point. Ghostbusters, the Genesis or Mega Drive version. Well done. Well done.
All right.
Is it the first level, though? The title of the track is First Case, Home Sweet Home. Well done. Yes.
All right. There we
One more
go.
point. So 2 points. Well done.
Good. We're catching up.
Good job. Good job. Good job.
Thank
That was
you.
easy. That was easy, right?
Yeah, well, for me, it definitely was because I love that game. Huge Ghostbusters fan.
Excellent.
And had that back in the day.
Mm-hmm. So let's see what happens next. So you've got 2 points. You need 8 more. Let's go with number 3 is a question again. So easy or hard, it's up to you.
Let's do another. Well, let's do an easy one. Let's do an easy one
Okay.
now.
Let's go with
And maybe we'll
one.
switch it to hard. We'll switch the difficulty setting to hard later.
Exactly. Okay. Let's go with this one. World of Illusion. Are you familiar with this game?
Yes, I am.
Yes? Okay. So in World of Illusion, how do Mickey and Donald attack their enemies?
They have a magic cape of sorts. It's like a I don't know if I'd call it a carpet. It's not a carpet. It's like a magician's cape or a magician's magic. You know how a magician would put this cloth, or maybe it is supposed to be a cape, over a hat, and then like the hat disappears or something when he lifts the cape. But yeah, it's this cloth cape magical thing that they smack the enemies with, and this little fairy dust comes off of it.
I like how people are so scared of my game that they see the need to explain exactly what kind of item it is. Like, it's a cloth. It's, maybe not like a cape, maybe more like
I'm getting real specific.
Cloth, really specific. Everyone is like that. Of course, you're correct. Using their magic capes is the correct answer.
Okay,
yes.
perfect. Yeah. Well, I was thinking to myself, I don't remember them wearing that item.
Yeah.
But that's what it is.
It's magic. It's inside their, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're what? Wait. What kind of clothes do they wear? They don't have pants.
I know.
Actually, wait.
Mickey does.
Mickey does, yeah.
Donald
just got a big butt.
Yeah.
And gets stuck sometimes. I love that game. Okay.
That's a great game. Yeah.
But 1 point, 3 so far. You're doing great. Tyler.
Cool.
Doing great. It's time for another song, okay?
Perfect.
Deep breaths. Let's take a listen. Ooh.
You can see me now. I'm bouncing in my chair.
I was too. I was also bouncing in my chair.
Okay, that's from Streets of Rage 2. It's the boss fight in Streets of Rage 2 as opposed to Streets of Rage 1 or 3. I'm pretty sure it's 2. I know it's not 1, but I'm going to go with Streets of Rage 2 boss fight.
Why are you so sure it's 2?
Because Streets of Rage 1 had the same theme, but it was done differently. Yuzo kind of did it in a different way when he brought it back to Streets of Rage 2. So in Streets of Rage 1, it had some different sounds in there. So I just, from my own memory of how they were, I'm pretty sure that one was Streets of Rage 2. Because you had that extra kind of beat in there. That like that thing was not in the first game's music, I don't think. So I'm gonna go with Streets of Rage 2.
I don't think at the end.
Yeah, I'm not like 100% sure, but yeah, I'm gonna say Streets of Rage 2 boss fight.
You seem to know your stuff, but do you really? That's the question. Ooh. So I'm gonna start by telling you that so this is your final answer, right? Final answer.
Oh man.
Just checking.
Yeah, your little giggle there made me I'm second guessing myself now.
Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should. I don't know. I was just asking if it's your final answer.
I guess Streets of Rage 3, it could be that one. I'm trying to remember. I'm going to say Streets of Rage 2.
Mm-hmm. So, final answer. Streets of Rage 2, the boss theme. Yeah?
Final answer.
Okay. So, it's locked in now.
Locked in.
No turning back.
No turning back.
I'm going to start by telling you the title of the track. The name of the track is actually Never Return Alive.
Okay.
Okay. Does it ring any bell? No.
The name of the track doesn't. I know that's definitely a boss fight.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't know the name of the track.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you as well that this is indeed a boss track, boss theme from a game. So 1 point. Okay. Good job. Now, is it Streets of Rage 2? Or could it be something else entirely?
I don't think so. It's definitely got to be a Streets of Rage game. And I know it's not
Tyler.
one. Uh-oh.
Tyler Esposito, great Sega fan. You are absolutely correct. Yes, Streets of Rage 2. Well done.
Oh man, David, you're good at that. You're good at that suspense, man. You're really good at the suspense. You had me going there.
Never doubt yourself. Always go with your gut. Okay,
yeah, what is it?
2 points.
I'm going to drop a Star Fox reference actually on a Sega radio lounge, but it's never give up. Trust your instincts.
Do a barrel. No, don't.
Yeah.
No, not now. Not on your chair.
No, that would
hurt yourself.
I would fall out of the chair.
Okay, so awesome. 5 points so far. That's amazing. Which means we're halfway there, and we've still got a few questions to go. So, challenge number 5 is another question. So, easy or hard, Tyler?
Let's go hard this time.
Yeah, you're starting to feel a little bit more confident, right?
Yeah.
That's usually what happens at this point.
I'm getting cocky.
Maybe not. Okay. Okay. So I'm looking at the list of. Okay. There was a Mega Drive or Genesis game. So it was called Soleil in Europe. was called Crusader of Senti in the US, Genesis game. And in Crusader of Senti, you can find Sonic the Hedgehog at the beach. He does a cameo appearance there.
Right.
If you talk to Sonic, he says, I'm a gallant hedgehog. Don't mess or you'll get blank. What's the blank?
Oh, man.
So it's like, I'm a gallant hedgehog. Don't mess or you'll get something. Fill in the blank.
I don't think I know this one. I knew he was a cameo. I don't think I ever knew what he said. Because I never owned the game and I never played it either, really too much.
Really fun game.
I've heard, yeah, it being a Zelda type of game on the Genesis though.
I would say Zelda with a twist.
Right,
which are the animal companions.
Very cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
mess or you'll get. So I'm a gallant hedgehog. So it's like, right? So, I'm a gallant hedgehog. Don't mess or you'll get. Is he a gallant hedgehog?
I guess so. He's never talked like that before. Don't mess or you'll get. What does he say like in the cartoon? I'm trying to think. If they use some of that dialogue, that attitude. Don't mess or you'll get. I don't know. Don't mess or you'll get.
This is very specific, right?
Yeah, I know. It's a hard one.
Exactly.
Don't mess or you'll get a beat down.
It's just one word.
Oh, okay.
I will tell you that. It's just one word.
Okay. Don't mess or you'll get.
Otherwise, it would be chili dogs, but no. Don't mess or you'll get chili dogs. It's not that.
Don't mess or you'll get bounced.
Bounced.
That's going to be my...
That's a good guess, actually.
It's going to be my guess.
So, final answer?
Final answer, bounced.
Sounds good. So, Tyler. So your answer is, I'm a gallant hedgehog, or I'm a gallant hedgehog, don't mess, or you'll get bounced. This answer is, unfortunately, incorrect. Yeah. The correct answer is burned. Don't mess or you'll get burned. So
that wasn't a bad guess. Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't. It was a B word.
Yeah,
it was a B word.
You were close. You were close. This was indeed a hard question. Very hard.
Yes.
Question. Okay.
That's good.
So we're halfway into the quiz, and you've got 5 points. So not bad. Let's go with number 6, which is another song. Shall we? Okay. You know the drill by now. 1 point for the song, 1 point for the game.
Okay, cool.
Let's take a listen.
That is from Decap Attack, and that is one of the main level themes in the game. It is on stage 1, level 1-1. They use it throughout the game, so that I guess is my answer. Decap Attack, level 1-1.
No real doubt in your mind about any of
No
that.
doubt in my
No,
mind
no
whatsoever.
doubt. Yeah, whatsoever. Okay. I'm not going to make you suffer. So I'm just going to say 2 points. Well done.
All right. I love
That's
that game. Decap Attack is highly underrated, if you ask me. Really great, like almost Halloween themed platformer.
Mhm.
I always got major. Do you remember the cartoon? I think it was a British cartoon, Count Duckula.
Yeah.
I always got major Count Duckula vibes from that game. The art design.
Awesome. Count Duckula was, yeah. I think it was British. Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
It's like a Danger Mouse spin-off, isn't it?
I think it started that way. I think Count Duckula was a villain on Danger Mouse.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got his own show.
But yeah, I need to play more Decap Attack, actually. It's one of those games that I never played that much growing up. So yeah, but it's a fun game. Okay, and that gave you 2 points. So that gave you 7 points in total. So well done, Decap Attack. Good job.
Awesome.
And we only need 3 more points. We're almost there.
Okay.
Let's take a look at number 7, which is another question. So Tyler, easy or hard?
Let's do hard again. I'm really determined to get one of these hard ones. Yeah.
Okay. So, are you familiar with a little game or a little character called Alex Kidd?
I am.
You are.
He's my boy.
You boy, your kid.
My kid.
What is the name of Alex Kidd's girlfriend, according to the arcade version of Alex Kidd and the Lost Stars?
Oh no. Oh no. That's a tough one. That's really tough. That's so funny.
It makes sense though.
Yeah.
It makes sense if you think about it. If you think about the game especially.
Right. I can visualize the character. I can visualize the arcade version, which is one that I didn't really play as much as the Master System version of Lost Stars. But she was playable, right? I think you could almost like have her as the second player.
Not sure.
I can't remember.
That was the case. Wasn't she kidnapped?
Maybe she's kidnapped. Yeah. I'm gonna say Alexa. I don't know. I'm gonna say
everyone's smart devices went off right now.
Oh my god! Yeah, exactly. Right. That's funny. I'm gonna say
because of Alex.
Yeah, or maybe yeah. That's kind of why I don't remember the name of the character. Maybe it was Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
But it's his girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
So maybe.
And actually, you were right. In the arcade version, the second player controls the girl.
Okay, that's what. Mode. Yeah, I remembered that aspect of it. I don't remember the name of her. But you know what? Let me think. I don't think it's Alexandria or Alexa. Let's say. Oh man!
You can say whatever you want.
For some reason, the name Mary came to mind, but that's the character from. I think that's the character from Alien Syndrome. Her name is Mary. Another old Sega arcade game.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's Quartet. Maybe that was Quartet. It was Mary. I don't know. Let's say. Yeah, let's say Alexa.
So maybe we'll need to ask her if
you might need to Ask her in a
Alexa, is
moment.
the answer correct?
Alexa, did you star alongside Alex in The Lost Stars?
Exactly. Okay. So your final answer is Alexa, right, Tyler?
Yes.
Yeah? We're going to
Yeah,
go with that? Yeah?
I'm going to go with that.
For 2 points? Okay. So the name of the game is Alex Kidd and the Lost Stars. His girlfriend is Stella.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of makes sense.
Yes.
But you
And-
just had to know, right?
Yeah, and now that you say it, I can visualize it. I've seen that title screen. I've seen, that kind of attract mode of that game, and I'm like, oh yeah, Stella. I can see that now.
Yeah. Okay, no worries. So still 3 challenges left, and the next one is our last song.
Okay.
Okay, our last song. Being the last one, we're entering hard mode here as well.
Okay.
So this means the last one is going to be a 10-second long clip, but reversed.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's see if you can guess what this is. Let's take a listen.
Definitely heard that Master System. It's definitely like a Master System game.
Should I play it again?
Yes, please.
Yeah? Okay. So let's take a listen. Nice.
Okay. It kind of reminds me of a track from Phantasy Star. But
so what I usually ask people is to first focus on system. So you're saying Master System, apparently.
yes.
Yeah.
Master System, absolutely.
Then maybe genre, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I feel like it's a role-playing game.
Mm-hmm.
So that narrows it down to quite a bit. To Phantasy Star, Dragon Crystal, Ease the Vanished Omens. It also could be Golvelius, but I don't think it's Golvelius.
It's quite fast-paced, isn't it?
Golvelius is, it's kind of like an action RPG.
I mean the track itself.
Yeah, it was kind of fast paced, but it kind of, I don't know, it just gave me an RPG vibe. I don't know why.
Should I play it again?
Yeah, let's do it again. For whatever reason, I feel like we're in some sort of town with that game, with that sound, that music. Like a town in an RPG. I'm going to say it's from Phantasy Star.
Mm-hmm.
That was my original feeling, so I'm going to stick with that. I feel better about that choice than any other RPG.
And where does it play?
I don't know. I will say it sounds to me like a town.
Like a town. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So a town theme.
A town theme, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think It could be very wrong, but I'm trying to think of the music in Phantasy Star, and it kind of had that quality to it. But I think other games did too, so it's tough. It's a really tough one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's go
Fantasy Star?
Let's go Phantasy Star.
Yeah. Final answer?
Final answer.
Lock it in? Yeah.
Yep.
It's locked in. So first of all, let's take a listen to the track not reversed, right?
Okay.
So, and let's see if this helps. So,
okay, it's definitely not Phantasy Star then.
It's definitely not Fantasy Star, no.
Yeah, that is not Fantasy Star.
It's fast paced.
Wow.
I said.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm very familiar with this one. It kind of it made me think a little bit of that game Running Battle.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you the answer.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you that, you should be careful with this track. Don't mess or you'll get burned. Because this is Sonic 1 on the Master
Sonic
System.
1, okay. It's probably a later stage level.
It's Scrap Brain from Sonic 1 8-bit. Yeah.
Ah, there you go. See, that's one, I played a lot of Sonic 1. Like if you'd given me the Bridge Zone.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Like I would have immediately probably gotten it, but I don't know if I've ever beaten.
The
Sonic
problem
1 on
with
the
Bridge
Master
Zone is even reversed, it sounds almost exactly the same. So
I
was going to go with Bridge Zone, but then maybe it's too easy. And I usually do Bridge Zone, so I changed it up a little bit for this.
That's good. That was really
but okay,
difficult.
but it's okay. No points, but let me tell you about what's coming up. So you've got 7 points so far. You need 3 points. And the remaining 2 challenges are questions.
Okay.
Last question is always hard. So you'll have to get at least an easy question now and the correct answer for the hard one as well. So, or you can do 2 hards and see how it goes.
Okay.
So which one will it be now? This is the last one you can choose. So
let's do easy. So
let's do easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the easy question is, I feel like this is almost too easy. What name is given to the combination of a Genesis, a Sega CD, a 32X, and usually a Sonic & Knuckles cartridge with another Sonic game attached to it?
The Tower of Power.
That's a bit of a ridiculous name, right? I don't know, just saying.
Yeah, it is kind of. I mean, that's how I always heard it called, that the Tower of Power.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm going to lock that in.
You should be sure. You should lock it in. And it's not ridiculous. It's a great name. It is the Sega Tower of Power.
There you go.
Well done. 8 points. 8 points. So it's down to this last question, Tyler.
Okay.
For 2 points, for glory.
Oh.
Your final question is a hard question. So I'm gonna look at my list of hard questions.
Oh man.
Of devilishly hard questions. And my question is, what is the name of the SG-1000 game that is notable for being the first title Yuji Naka worked on?
I know this one. I think it's called Girl's Garden.
Girl's Garden.
I think that's what it's called.
Do you remember what it was about? What kind of game?
I've played it. Yeah, you're like it's like a side scroller where you're going. It's very cutesy, very bright and colorful. and you're a little girl going from left to right, almost like Pitfall, but yeah, you're having to avoid certain very cutesy things that I remember. I played it a few times back in the day via emulation. I think it was also on the there was like a collection that came out on the Sega Ages on Sega Saturn that had a bunch of SG-1000 games on it, I believe. And I think that was one of them, Girls Garden. I'm gonna lock that.
Mm-hmm. So Girls Garden. Not very original of a name, right?
Yeah, not very. I kind of like to the point. It's almost like you're driving and you see a place that's called Barbershop.
So was it set in a garden owned by a girl?
Yes, it was. No, it was actually a pig in outer space. It was it was completely different. No, it was a girl. Yeah, Girls Garden.
It was a girl in a garden. So the name Girls Garden is your answer for this final hard question. For 2 points for glory, for street cred. Your answer, Tyler, of My Retro Life, is correct. Yes. Well done, Girls Garden.
Yes, right at
you had to pick flowers in this game.
I know. Yeah, that was such a cutesy. It was definitely aimed at girls, I think.
And it was an unusual story. So
the
boyfriend was leaving her for another girl, so she has to pick flowers and avoid bears.
Avoid bears
because sure, yeah,
because why not?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, good job. 10 points, and that's also your ticket to get the Sega Lounge seal of approval, which I've sent to you on Twitter.
Wonderful.
Good
Man,
job.
right at the buzzer.
I told you it would be hard. So yeah, it's always hard.
Hey, it's always best. It's always best to win in style, right?
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. So Tyler, it's always a lot of fun to have you on the show. Before you go, let's just talk a little bit about My Retro Life, because I want people to know exactly what it is and how it came about. So you mentioned before that your Sega channel then got a rebranding to...
Yes, iRetro Gamer.
And then you took a hiatus because of personal stuff.
Yes.
So what made you want to come back?
Well, I took a personal hiatus. Just needed to kind of work on some personal things and kind of refocus some things in life, which I think many of us have to do from different seasons in life. And but in that hiatus, I put the show. The main series, which was like the main series that was popular with the old home movie footage with Dad and I, and growing up with my family of gamers, me and my cousins and everybody. I took that My Retro Life series and it started to air on Pixel Game Squad, which was a channel, is a channel, owned by a buddy of mine, named Riff, and he's out in California. It's a great channel. They do a show called the NES Pursuit. And they started hosting the old episodes, and it started to kind of gain a little bit more of a following from a new crowd of people. And at one point, I kind of had a family discussion with my wife, and just decided, hey, I think it'd be good to. I think it was on Pixel Game Squad for about a year. And then I said, I think it would be good to relaunch the channel and start doing this because it's doing well over at Pixel Game Squad. And, I feel like, I've gotten my priorities kind of set in life, and I've gotten through those personal issues. So why don't we bring the show back and bring it back, rebrand it My Retro Life, and really focus on it and work on it as something for the long term that can grow, and I can continue making content on it over the years, and maybe it could be something very fruitful for my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to relaunch it, and it was a very great relaunch. A lot of people came over from Pixel Game Squad and watched the new episodes I was putting out. And I started putting out, because that's the other thing, is I had never really finished my story. I still had tons of footage to tell stories with, old gaming footage growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we relaunched and had a few videos really do well early on, kind of went a little viral in November with the Xbox episode I produced and the PlayStation 1 episode that I produced. They both did really well. And in a very short time, we've gone from, just relaunching the channel brand new with 0 subscribers to obviously people found it that were aware of me coming back, but now already up to 17,000 plus subscribers in a relatively short period of time. Especially when you consider it took me 5 years to gain 15,000 subscribers, where now it's 17,000 in less than a year. So we've been very fortunate. Yeah, very fortunate. It's been really cool to see people find the show and enjoy it the way they have, and we're very excited for the future.
Yeah. And I know that something special happened as well, but before I ask you about that, how would you explain to people not familiar with your channel what it is?
Sure. My channel is basically if you've ever seen those classic shows like The Wonder Years or The Goldbergs more recently, also A Christmas Story, the movies like that, where somebody narrates their life story and it's kind of a very nostalgic TV show or movie where there's a narrator talking about his childhood. So that was my initial idea, was to take the old home movie clips that my dad shot of me and him and my cousins growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, and all that pop culture that Dad caught on tape. I really wanted to, and especially with video games, I wanted to turn that into a little series. And so I narrate over these old clips and I tell the story in a very nostalgic way of growing up in a family that loved video games. And that's pretty much the gist. There's that main series, and the channel also has other stories, other kinds of videos, but the main series that's still ongoing is that series with the old home movies.
Yeah. And I think it's excellent for both people who lived those years as well, who got the same experiences or similar experiences, because there's a nostalgia involved, and they will recognize some of the moments that you highlight there as well. And it's great for people who are younger and are just curious about what previous years in gaming were like, and pop culture as well, as you said. So I think it's very interesting, and people should definitely check it out.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And I was going to mention something, because I know that you were involved with a very popular documentary that was made a few months ago as well, Console Wars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how that came to be?
Sure. So Blake J. Harris, the author of the Console Wars book, that is kind of the authentic from the mouth of Tom Kalinske novel about the Sega and Nintendo rivalry of the 90s and 80s. And that book obviously was a really great seller, and had a lot of interest over at Sony Pictures even for a time. Seth Rogen was attached to that book to actually make a major motion picture out of it for a while. Blake had gotten him attached. And Seth Rogen and his production company kind of went through some interesting ups and downs, I guess, in development, and they kind of just settled on doing a documentary first. I believe there's still talks of doing a TV show, like a narrative TV show, but with actors and dramatized. But they got this documentary produced at Seth Rogen's company, or Seth Rogen at least served as a producer. I'm not sure if his actual production company made it, but CBS All Access picked it up, which is now Paramount Plus. And I was kind of following that project for a while, and just following Blake J. Harris. We'd spoken years ago when he first put out the book, and he was aware of my show, my series, and the old footage, and he always thought it was cool. We talked briefly about 5 years ago, maybe, and he remembered though all that conversation we had, and he remembered my series. And when they were going into post production on his documentary, he messaged me. He got in contact with me and said, "Hey, Tyler, would you like to be? I remembered you all these years. I remembered that footage, and it really would be great to use some of that old footage in our film. Would you be interested in that?" So yeah, we started to collaborate in the post-production process, and it was such a thrill, man. It was such a thrill to get my old family footage that Dad shot. They used quite a bit of it. They used quite a bit of footage throughout that film. So it's really great. It's not just in one segment. If you watch that movie, my old home movie footage is kind of seen throughout the film, and it's such a special thing for me and my family to be a part of that. When we watched it for the first time, we saw the end credits, and my name was there right next to Dad's name. It said Tyler Esposito and Mark Esposito in the special thanks section of the credits. It was such an incredible, emotional experience.
Yeah.
Having lost Dad all those years ago, and to know that, like, wow, this big movie about that hobby and passion of ours has come out, and it's going to be seen by many, many people. And it's just this authentic story. It's the official tale of how, endorsed by Tom Kalinske and all those, it was amazing. It was really, really cool to be a part of that, and very special.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. It's great. It's great. Yeah. It actually fits the whole narrative of the book, and actually what happened, because it's real life experience from the people, from the gamers who lived it, right? In a way, from the American families in this case. That one
very
particular
cool.
American family.
Yeah, and there was a lot of our footage used, but there was other kids. Some footage got used from other people, and I actually got to meet one of them. We connected through us both being in this film. The crying Nintendo kid, as he goes by, and his name's Steve, and he's a great guy. We've become friends now. It's kind of funny. We're like we always feel like kindred brothers or something like that, because we're both still majorly into gaming and have YouTube channels, and both of us were in that movie, and it's just funny.
Excellent. Okay, so Tyler, I've got a couple of questions to wrap our chat up, and one of them is explain to people why you're such a massive SEGA fan. I know you're a massive video game fan as a whole, but what about SEGA makes it so special for you?
Well, there was something about the way that they made their games. They felt very, they felt like a real, almost like a character themselves, SEGA, because the games had such style, and you knew when you were playing a SEGA game, you were playing a SEGA game. You felt it. It just oozed this certain style. And I think because of that, there was just a deeper connection between us as gamers, me specifically, Dad specifically, a deeper connection with what we were playing, and that it was made by a particular company that we were. It's almost like when you get into movies or music, like by an artist or by a company like Disney or something like that, you really feel like you're connecting with that band or that artist or that company, like their movies, because of that style. That's kind of this interwoven thread in all of their works. This kind of same feel. So we connected with that on a level that was deeper than Nintendo. I'd say deeper than Nintendo. Always kind of felt like maybe a little more corporate, a little more, conglomerate, like this big company, and they made great games. They still do, but for whatever reason, we were able to connect with Sega on a deeper level, and it became this thing of following them throughout their ups and downs because we just connected with them and we wanted to see them succeed. They were like the home team. We wanted to always root for the home team and wish them well, and we knew they always had it in them to innovate, and that was a big thing too about why we love Sega, was they were always innovating. Dad and I would always say this, that what is Nintendo doing, especially during like the 16-bit era? It was like, what are they doing? They're just sitting on the Super Nintendo. Why haven't they put out a new console? Why they waited? It seemed like forever to put out the 64. Really, it was only like 5 years now, and that seemed like it seemed like a long time back then. But we loved that Sega put out the Sega CD and was expanding technology and pushing the envelope of the games industry with new technology like that and trying new things. The Sega Channel, I mean, come on. There was no other company doing anything like that, really, even in just the world. You're talking about early, like, cable, almost internet technology where you plugged your phone line into a modem, and these games got sucked into the modem and into your Genesis. Like, it was so foreign in 1995 to be doing something like that. So it was stuff like that that really just made us feel like Sega was the best. Sega were the cutting edge, top of the line, the innovators. And it was because of that we were always excited about what they were going to do next. They were always the most exciting thing. Nintendo, we got real excited when the 64 came out, but then it would quickly diminish and go back to, okay, what's Sega going to do? What's Sega going to do? And they really blew us away with the Dreamcast. I mean, it was like, we felt like they were back on top, and I think I mentioned it earlier. It was such a sad thing when they called it quits in the hardware business, because it did. It felt like they were giving up, and they had to.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
It did. I definitely want to talk about this sometime in a video for my channel, because I did have such a strange array of emotions when they called it quits. And I still remember how I felt, and it was very sad. I felt like a friend of mine died.
Yeah.
It felt like a friend died or something. But obviously they've still remained, and they've still put out great games over the years. But I'm an old school Sega fan who definitely feels like there's a big difference between Sega pre-Dreamcast and Sega post-Dreamcast.
Yeah, there is, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like in recent years there's been a resurgence of that old school Sega feel in a way in some games, or have you not been?
Yeah. I've been very happy with what's been happening recently in the last few years with the Sega Mini, where Sega really poured time and effort into making a great classic console, miniature console. And then you've got all these kind of reboot / remaster remakes of classic Sega games, and Sega's recognizing that even if they don't develop it in-house, they know that they need to give it to a company like Lizard Cube or, so we've seen Wonder Boy come back in a beautiful, incredible game. We've seen Streets of Rage come back in an incredible sequel. We've seen Sonic come back in one of his strongest games ever, Sonic Mania. The list is it keeps going on. There was, the great line of Sega Ages, came back on the Nintendo Switch. I thought that was great while it lasted. Panzer Dragoon had a really great remake, that I've really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we've got a new Alex Kidd coming. So we are, I feel, in the middle of a kind of a resurgence in Sega taking care of their old IPs, or at least doing something with them.
Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah.
Very refreshing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. It feels like some of the old Sega is slowly coming back. Although
and I think that's because a lot of the people working at Sega now grew up with the games.
Yeah.
And they are ushering in. They're the ones saying, "Hey, we need to do this. We need to do this because this is the legacy." I mean, really, when you think about it, it is their legacy. These old characters, these old games, and to do nothing with them is just a waste.
For sure. Yeah. Excellent. Tyler, final question. You've answered this question before, but I'm going to ask again 7 years later.
All right.
So, if you could add blast processing to anything in the world, what would it be and why? I will tell you what your answer was afterwards.
Okay.
I don't want to influence your answer now.
Yeah.
So something to make it more powerful or faster, whatever. What would benefit from
this might sound a little sappy, but I would say I would add blast processing to empathy. I think if the world and people in general could empathize a little bit more instead of criticize and instead of hate, you name it. I think the word empathy is something we need to blast process in the world because, there's just, you see it in the headlines, the world we live in, the last few years have been pretty crazy. And I think it's because there's a lack of empathy. Empathy is something that I personally, have learned to understand a lot in my life over the last few years. Obviously, I always had empathy, but I think I grew to understand empathy in a deeper way in the last 7 years since we talked. So like I said, so might be a little sappy, might be a little deep, but, I think empathy is something we all could use in the world. So let's blast process it.
I agree. Yeah, that's actually an amazing answer, and we should all be more empathic. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Do you remember the question you gave? The answer you gave me?
No, I have no idea. What was it? That's fun. That'd be interesting.
Much lighter than that one.
Okay.
You said ice cream.
Oh my gosh. Well, I do love ice cream.
Ice cream is great.
I do love ice cream.
It does also need blast processing.
Let's blast process our ice cream with a side of empathy.
Exactly.
or let's opposite. Let's blast process our empathy with a side of ice cream.
Yeah, that's a good incentive. People who develop empathy will get some free ice cream with blast.
There you go.
Okay, so Tyler, thank you again for coming on the show. We have to do this again, and not wait 7 years to have you back on the show. Yes,
absolutely, David.
And everyone should check out the links in the show notes and check out my Retro Life, which is an amazing channel Any plans, by the way, Tyler, that you'd like to share? I don't know if you have any kind of projects coming up, any plans that you'd like to share, or
Yeah. So I'm continuing to produce the My Retro Life series. There's about 20 or so more episodes of the main series with me and my family growing up. So it is not. It's gonna end at some point. I don't have an unlimited supply of the old home movie footage. But what I have started doing, and the first incarnation of this came out a few days ago, is I've started to tell other people's retro stories. So this last video I put out a few days ago, I'm calling it Other Retro Lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a friend of mine named Seth. He's a collector here in Texas where I live. And he's got a really great collection. And I basically went over to his place. And I'm also in video production. And I do that for a living and do freelance gigs and all sorts of stuff and editing, and do the YouTube channel also. And so we did the first episode done like this in this incarnation, telling Seth's story, and specifically a crazy story of how when he was younger, he foolishly threw away all of his Nintendo, over 40 or 50 Nintendo boxes, NES boxes, cardboard boxes. And the reason he tossed them was because they were just cardboard. And that was all he thought of, and it became a huge regret. If he had kept them, they're worth over $4,000 today. And it's one of his biggest collecting regrets in his life. And so, I'm starting to kind of focus in on more telling stories of other people's lives in retro gaming and in gaming. And I'm excited. I've already got a few more lined up. So
Excellent.
Excited to see where that goes.
Excellent. And you put out a video last year, I think. Yeah, last year. Which was your daughter reacting to the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Direct, right? So
yes,
I'm guessing this is adorable, by the way, but it's also safe to say that you've been recording her as well, right?
Yes,
so
yes,
there
I
will
have.
be a legacy in the Esposito family of
right.
Yeah.
Every now and then we'll put out another video every now and then with her. But I've almost kind of felt like lately, let me not keep making these videos, because maybe one day she will want to make them. Yeah, she'll want to make them like I made the ones for Dad that Dad shot.
Yeah.
So maybe one day we film all this footage, and maybe she'll do what I did, and in 30 years, something like that, she'll be making her own retro life.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I think that's a smart choice, actually. Okay, Tyler, thank you again so much for coming on the show. Always a pleasure to talk to you, to have you on the show. And we'll talk again soon, hopefully.
All right, David, thank you. Have a good one.
There you have it, everyone. Go subscribe to My Retro Life and follow Tyler's creative endeavors. He's also got a Patreon which you can support. You'll find all links in the show notes. And that's all the time that we have for the week, so I'll be getting off this chair and closing the doors of the lounge in a moment. But let me just remind you that we'll be back next week with another show, and in the meantime, feel free to check out our back catalog of over 150 episodes. You can browse through them and find more information on most of the guests we've had over at thesegalounge.com. I hope you all have a great week, play some Sega games, and above all else, stay safe. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Find them at opussciencecollective.bandcamp.com. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Follow us on Twitter at The Sega Lounge and like us at facebook.com/The Sega Lounge. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. A Mixed On Productions podcast.